You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Good evening out there, fellow harmful extremists. It is I, Hobbs, with Ben on This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs. Ben, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Better than you, I guess. Sounds like you're fighting a cold off.
Yeah, I had to call in sick at work today and gradually got better as the day progressed. Now I'm kind of developing a cough that wasn't there at the beginning of the day.
But
it's
you're
a
here
lot
for
better.
all our fellow jihadists. Way to go.
Yes, I am. Over here, people, God, we're not even 30 seconds into the show and people are asking for feet pictures. So you know it's going to be a good day.
Well, since you've got a cough, do we want to kick it off with some COVID news? I mean, there's
Might
a
as
couple
well.
of them.
Yeah, the old Kung flu. What do you want to start with?
But I thought this was a good one where the FDA. All right, so the FDA approved the COVID. Oh wait, we're not even supposed to say that word, are we? What were we called? We already said it. Approved the COVID vaccine in 108 days or something crazy like that. And now they're saying they need 55 years to release their data on those trials.
55 years to release the data on the trial. Golly, I wonder why that is. It couldn't possibly be that people's attention span and long-term memory is that of a goldfish these days, but 55 years just seems a bit too on the nose.
Yeah, there was a group, they released a FOIA request for it, and it turns out, the government has 300,000 some pages of it. And they came back and said, well, we could give you 500 pages a month. And the group was like, well, that's not going to work. So then the FDA made a request, give us 55 years then and we'll get all that to you.
Yeah, it's, if they're trying to kind of throw some people off the scent, they really did a bang-up job of not accomplishing that.
Yeah, that's the old stall until they forget tactic, I guess.
I guess. But what are the over-under odds on whether or not the FDA says, yeah, sure, you can have that 55 years?
I'm going to guess it's just a formality at this point that they were asking the court for that. So, we'll be able to find out what actual tests were done and how effective the vaccine really was in about 55 years.
Yeah, or just never.
They'll ask for an extension.
Yeah, it'll be like the declassification of the JFK stuff.
Oh, it'll come out as just a page of black lines and like 3 words. You'll see like it.
Yeah.
What else was on the vaccine news?
This was a waste of time.
I mean, we could jump into your main one about a different virus.
Yeah, one that's actually dangerous to people on a massive scale.
You sent this meme, so let me try it and get it in here on solo mode. There we are.
Yeah. So if you can't read it, it's or if you're listening on audio, it's the classic Vince McMahon reaction meme where he kind of like goes from being mildly interested to, oh my God, that's awesome. So the top one is June 10th, 2021. The FDA has approved a new drug to treat smallpox. Fearful of a possible bioweapon attack, the United States has been steadily preparing. Number 2 is Bill Gates warns of smallpox terror attacks as he seeks research funds. Bill Gates warned that bioterrorism could be a bigger threat than naturally occurring epidemics. And that was Tuesday, 9 November, 2021. So the first one was June the 10th. The second one was 9 November. And the very last one is FBI investigating vials labeled smallpox found in a lab near Philadelphia. And that one is
16th.
November the 16th.
Well, that's a tight timeline.
Yeah, so we went from hey, we've got a new pill to treat a disease that's functionally dead in the world, to the guy who seems to be at the forefront of all of these wonderful pandemics breaking out, warning about, oh, a pandemic's just around the corner, guys. And then it just magically happens, and then he profits greatly, both monetarily and in prestige around the world. And then, bam, vials labeled smallpox found in a lab near Philadelphia. Now, that's it wasn't in the meme, but I saw another headline earlier today stating that there's only 2 places in the world where smallpox is allowed to be stored and studied, and one of them is the CDC headquarters in Atlanta, and the other is a place called Vector in Russia.
I mean, Russia should be pissed.
Everybody should be pissed.
I mean, could you imagine if this story was reversed and smallpox vaccine shows up in random Russian town?
Yeah, it would not be good.
And I mean, there's a complete breakdown of everything here. I mean, if we've got them floating around a lab in Philadelphia, where else are they at? I mean,
well, I don't know. I don't even know if they're floating around, or if, they managed to get as much power and control and fear in the population with the COOF, which was sub 1% mortality rate. So can you imagine if there was a bioterror attack of weaponized smallpox, or a sudden outbreak of smallpox everywhere around the world? It's amazing what they could get away with, because then just imagine everything that they did to corral public opinion with the Rona, amplified by a factor of like 500,000.
Well, I mean, smallpox don't fuck around either. That's like a 30% mortality rate virus right there.
Yes, it is. Now, luckily for me, I was inoculated against smallpox before my first deployment.
Yeah.
And people of a certain vintage are also inoculated as well.
I had one also as a medic, so I don't. Is that so? There's a lot of military that have this then. But I don't know. That's just one of those things that's so bizarre that it pops up after Bill Gates says he ain't looking into a cure or a drug to treat it.
Yeah, it's a awful gosh darn coinky dink.
I mean, let's look at this from a salesman standpoint. Smallpox doesn't kill you quick either. I mean, this is a great opportunity to sell drugs here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you get a couple blisters, you get some itchy owies, fork out the money to get your treatment for it. Bam, we're rolling in the cash.
Yep. If I was listening to this show right now, and obviously I'm not a doctor and I'm not allowed to give any medical advice, but it might be worthwhile to talk to your doctor about a smallpox inoculation.
How long are those good for? I mean, mine's probably 20 years old at this. Let's see. Yeah, probably about 20 years old at this point.
I'm not 100% sure. I
think I would know that, but I imagine it's one of those lifetime things.
Yeah, because it was a messy and quite disgusting thing to go through.
Yeah, you get that scar. Did you get a scar from it?
Yeah, I got one right over here.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of gross. You get a nasty festering wound for a week.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it was, they specifically told us, they're like, don't touch it. If you do end up getting any of the oozings on your finger or whatever, wash your hands immediately. Don't touch any other surfaces. Sanitize any surfaces that might come in contact with. Throw the bandages either like down the toilet or in a red biohazard bag or something, because I guess if the stuff that comes out of that wound, if it gets on, it potentially could infect somebody who's not inoculated with smallpox. Maybe small chance, but it's still like oozing pus.
Like the polio vaccine's the same way. Don't touch your butthole after you get that polio vaccine. You'll spread it around. But yeah, they both. It does have a small chance. I think think maybe that was the last recorded case in America was somebody did exactly what you're talking about. And I mean, even one of the last cases worldwide, I think, was in Africa like 40 or 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing. I mean, this is floating down a lab in fucking Philadelphia. Who knows if some dumbass isn't doing gain of function on it?
Yeah. Could be gain of function, or they could just be like, okay, is this sample still viable? Can we weaponize it? Can we, drop it into a circulation system in an office building? And oopsie, send it somewhere in the mail in a cracked vial. There's all sorts of ways that this could slip containment and start some type of a pandemic around the world.
Go old school with blankets, or
Yeah.
better yet, masks.
Oh man, I think you're onto something there. Smallpox infected N95 masks.
Oh, I hope nobody takes that idea.
I'm sure they've already had it.
Yeah. So we've got smallpox around. There was another coof thing. What was it? The FDA. OSHA. Did we talk about OSHA?
No, we haven't. Yeah, OSHA finally told Biden, like, hey, we don't want to be the enforcement arm of your silly, stupid mandate. So
they can't. I mean, OSHA, I don't know if they think OSHA is some sort of freaking army, or, I mean, the OSHA guy shows up at job sites for a region, maybe never. I mean, there isn't an army of OSHA people to enforce this mandate. I don't know what they were thinking by saying OSHA would do it. That's not going to happen unless they're going to boost. Could you imagine they start an OSHA army?
Don't give them any ideas.
An OSHA army patrolling workplaces for safety and misgendering.
Yeah, we laugh now, but that would very well could be, like how every place has an HR department, and the one person's job is just to kind of take people's grievances. It could very well be a federally mandated thing that job sites over X number of employees have to have a dedicated OSHA liaison on site at all times.
Well, in some places kind of do have that with the safety guy. I don't know if you ever worked at a job that had the hated safety guy. But he didn't have, I mean, he was just backed by the company. He wasn't backed by the feds.
Mm-hmm.
I can just imagine a OSHA deputized safety guy on every job site, and boy, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and OSHA decided not to enforce it too because it's floating around in courts still. So they're waiting to see how that shakes out. But the Biden administration said, nope, go ahead and just do it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's getting more and more ridiculous just how much power that this administration is trying to grasp at. And nobody is holding them accountable, and the few people that do try to hold them accountable are shouted down as conspiracy theorists and fearmongers and right-wing Nazis and God knows what else. It's like, you motherfuckers, I'm not a Nazi. I'm the one who's trying to prevent government overreach.
Yeah, the Nazi, that term doesn't even mean a Nazi anymore. I mean, what is the new I mean, just somebody that disagrees with MSNBC, I think, might be what a literal Nazi is at this point.
Yep. That was a nice little segue into what we could go into next with that MSNBC.
Yeah, then I can segue into something else.
Dropping a little name drop right there.
MSNBC was kicked out of the courtroom for the Rittenhouse trial.
Yes, they were, and good riddance to them.
I mean, the reason why is just creepy, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You obviously heard the story.
Yeah, so after jury deliberations ended yesterday, the jury gets on a bus that has all of the windows blacked out, and they are shuttled around town to their hotel or wherever it is that they're staying at. And they have a police escort. And I guess while they were driving around with these jurors, one of the police officers noticed that there was a car that was following them all around, and it ran a red light in order to keep the bus in sight. And the police officer pulled the bus over, ID'd the man, asked who he was. He identified himself and said he was a producer with MSNBC under orders from a gal, I think her name was like Jennifer Brayon at MSNBC, to follow the jurors to their hotel and possibly take pictures of them.
I mean, this is like some Stasi level stuff here. That's all they were doing. They're trying to dox them, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that they are.
You know, they went.
It's a clear-cut case of jury intimidation. Your journalistic duties and your journalistic integrity do not include taking photographs of jurors in an ongoing case. There was no journalistic value to be gained from this. This was a clear-cut case to get these people's names and identities out out in the public sphere.
Oh, and I'm sure they'd frame it as like a completely harmless story. Meet the jurors of the Rittenhouse trial. Yeah, I'm sure that's what they'd want to do. Oh, and it just so happens here's where they live.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so MSNBC was kicked out of the trial permanently. They're not allowed back into the building at all for the remainder of the trial by who is quite possibly the most based judge in America right now.
Hobbs, you know, this, I just looked, Snopes says this story is unproven. So
well, the part about MSNBC being barred from the court is 100%.
I just find that hilarious that, you know, I Googled this story to look up the name of that producer, and one of the first links is that Snopes says it's unproven.
Yeah. She has apparently completely scrubbed her LinkedIn account. So that should tell you everything that you need to know.
I mean, that's probably get your ass fired sort of thing right there, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. And if it's not, then you should. You know, knowing MSNBC, she'll probably get a promotion. Like, hey, you tried, champ. We'll get them next time.
Yeah, and I mean that's just terrible. I don't know why they would want to dox those people. I mean, they're trying to interfere directly, right? This kind of goes back to that Timcast you were talking about. I only watched part of it, but they spent a large chunk of that episode talking about how the media is just complete bullshit and everybody realizes it anymore.
We are at the point in history right now where the Soviet Union was towards the end of it, where there is no truth in Pravda, there is no news in Izvestia. We're there right now. The problem that we have is that we have such a plurality of news, and people have so many so many options out there, that there are still people that believe that the MSNBCs and the CNNs of the world are unbiased, true news reporting instead of editorializing and just flat out lying.
Well, and here's why getting your news independently is probably, I mean, those guys aren't, the people doing independent news aren't really working for any sort of, I'll even watch independent progressive news because they're not working for any corporation. You know, you know, the government's not asking them to kill stories like you would at the corporate media. And I think that is probably where everything's going to go. I mean, anybody with a good camera and a little bit of a following can get on social media and their story can go viral.
Yeah, they can. And the excuse me. And you know, and with that being said, you've also got some people that are more, I don't want to say mainstream, I don't want to say corporate media, but you got guys like that have big followings like Jimmy Dore, and more these days, like Bill Maher seems to have just taken a handful of red pills lately.
Yeah. Well, Bill Maher has been the same Democrat.
He went on.
Oh, go ahead. You broke up a little.
Yeah, he has. I was just saying that you got guys like Bill Maher and Jimmy Dore, who are left-wing progressive types that seem to have kind of broken out and been like, no, we're being lied to. The media is full of shit.
Broadcast. What the fuck? Fuck you, Facebook. Somebody showed up from Facebook, and now it says Facebook stopped your broadcast. That is so fucking annoying. Anyways, so yeah, like I was saying, Bill Maher, he's been the same type of Democrat since the 90s.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Democrat Party has left that guy.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he's quite ready to be a libertarian or a Republican yet, but he's definitely not a Democrat anymore.
No, he's definitely not a Democrat. And, you know, he's the type of Democrat from that, you know, I like the 90s Democrat. They were anti-war. They were anti-corporation. That's kind of where Bill Maher is still at. And that is anywhere close to where the current Democrat Party is at. Jimmy Dore, I haven't really watched him. Have you watched him before?
I watched his episode where he interviewed Magnus Panvidya, and I've seen a few clips of some of his other shows, and he's definitely a left-wing progressive type. You know, he's not quite at the point where Bill Maher is right now, but he doesn't have the brainwashing like lockstep where CNN says jump and he says how high. He's gone on Tucker Carlson.
I see a lot of progressive Twitter bitch about him. So
yeah,
he doesn't toe the line for what they're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Right. He has a brain and he can think for himself. He's one of the guys.
There's some other. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, there's some other progressives too that are like that on that are, you know, sticking to that old line, and the party's just left them behind. I mean, you also have some on the right too, where the GOP's left them behind. And I think there's a larger chunk that, you know, they might be registered one way or another, but they really are independent voters at this point. Especially with the breakup of the media.
Yeah, and there's that large chunk, if they'd realize that the Democrats and the Republicans have kind of sequestered themselves into their tribal little corners, and they'd vote accordingly, you know, rather than like, oh, I voted Democrat, my dad has always voted Democrat, my grandpa voted Democrat, and I'll vote Democrat till the day I die. And it's like, well, when the Democrat Party is espousing literal communism, that might not be a good idea anymore, and you might want to look for other options. Yeah,
like where we're at in Nebraska, I mean, the Democrat Party has no base at all. If they're gonna be like the National Party, the thing is that's a top-down organization. So what they decide should be national, they want that pushed out to all the states. And you know, there is room for another message in Nebraska, but it's not that crap that the Democrat Party's pushing out. You know, the wokest, anti-gun, pro big corp bullshit that they are now.
Yeah, even the traditional Democrat voters in Nebraska that, you know, not necessarily the younger kids around Lincoln and Omaha and the university areas, but you know, you've got some older like blue dog Democrats that are really more conservative than anything, but they're still voting Democrat because, like I said, you know, I vote Democrat because my dad did and my mom did and yada yada. But but yeah, those are the people that need to be reached out to if they haven't already just decided that the Democrat Party's full of lunatics and switched over to GOP.
Yeah. Somebody commented, am I late? Did y'all cover Fauci's trial yet? I haven't
heard anything about a trial. I know that he's been getting grilled by Rand Paul like every day. Like Rand is relentless.
Maybe he's talking about the trials that he did with the smallpox virus. I don't. Yeah, turn leftists into whoa, easy there, big guy. So yeah, that's our MSNBC news on Rittenhouse, which is a good segue into the actual Rittenhouse trial, which is just, I guess they're hanging around in the jury room playing Call of Duty with some
That
Some
Halo
guy
Infinite
named
multiplayer dropped today, so maybe that's what they're doing.
they're playing some guy named Four Doors More Horrors. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
man. Just a little segue into something else. I just saw our meme popped up. I don't know. Did you make the one with the Office, the Jim Halper?
that was Token Nathan.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been popping up all over the place, and it just popped up. Punk Rock Libertarians podcast posted it, and If It Pleases the Crown reposted it there. But the assholes cropped our watermark out of the corner.
Yeah, poor watermark placement on that one. That it seems like the ones that go viral, we always have like an easy spot for them to just nick the watermark out. So
Right. Whenever I do it, I always try to put it like right up here in the center line, like
where they
right in the middle, where they'd have to like cut half of Jim off.
really have to
Then
work
it's
for it.
obvious. Yep.
I've seen people take a meme we have that goes viral and they want it and they just recreate it to
Yeah.
get rid of that too. So that's all right. We know where it happened at.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great when we see one pop up in the wild.
It
Yeah,
really is.
one of my friends actually shared that meme with the watermark cut off. I was just like, "Where'd you find that?" Somebody cut the damn watermark off.
It's funny because every once in a blue moon, Angela will give me a meme dump that she finds on Reddit.
Mhm.
And one day I saw one of ours, and it still had the watermark in it. I'm like, hey, that's mine. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, right there. You see the little Rose of Liberty symbol? That's ours. It's like it was on Reddit. I'm like, yes.
And anyways, the Rittenhouse trial.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just kind of they went back. You know, there was that bullshit with the video. Did you understand what that was about?
I'm guessing that the prosecution had both the low res version and the high res version of the FBI drone surveillance. And from I've heard from a couple of different things. One was that they just flat out did not provide the high res video to the defense during the discovery process, which would be terrible, and you go to fucking jail for that. And the other thing that I heard was that they did provide it, but rather than putting it on a thumb drive or a disk or into like a Dropbox type application, they they texted it to the defense attorney, which obviously would compress the video and ruin like half of the quality of it, so it wasn't worth the shit anyways. And the only reason that it came to light is that Snackbox, the bigger, fat, dumb, bald prosecutor, slipped up while they were reviewing the footage in trial and said, yeah, our version's quality is much higher. And somebody caught it after the fact and was like, whoa, what do you mean our quality? Our version is better. What does this mean? And so the judge pulled them all back in and was like, what the fuck's going on here, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the jurors actually came back in to rewatch that high res. It was the drone video, wasn't it? Or
yeah. And there's also some speculation floating around there, and I see a couple of my boys are down there in the chat watching right now. Maybe they can comment on it a little bit better than I can. But there's some speculation that there may have been proof of Fed provocateurs in the mob that attacked Rittenhouse, because there was a one of the aerial drone footage was by like an independent contractor or something who was just shooting video on his personally owned drone to, like, I don't know, sell it to a news agency or whatever. And 16 days after the incident, he shut his business down. So it seems like it was a burner company or a front company for some type of a Fed whatever. And the speculation is something like he might have caught footage of a Fed provocateur doing Fed provocateur shit and didn't want that to get out, so he shut up shop and like, oh, I don't have the video anymore, guys.
Well, I think everybody pretty much just accepts that all these events have Fed provocateurs at it. I mean,
Yeah.
the best one was, what was it? Damn support Trump thing, and it was just all the Fed guys standing around in a circle.
Yeah. The khaki shorts, sunglasses, neat military regulation haircuts.
Poorly concealed weapon.
Yep.
What event was that? That was like one of the January 6th things, I'm sure. But I mean, I'm sure that during all the BLM stuff, there was either Fed or local level out there either being provocateurs or just gathering information. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Oh yeah, it's those things are practically powder kegs, and if you're going to provocateur anything, those are the places to do it at. As violent as violent and everything as the BLM protests got over last summer, I'm surprised they didn't get even more when you count in all of the Fed provocateurs and everything that have got to be at all of these events. But we also have to remember that there's only one side that the iron triangle of media, government, and pop culture wants to portray as violent extremists. And yes, the BLM stuff got violent and burned things and looted and destroyed property, but in all honesty, that was probably organic. When you look at things like the January 6th insurrection coup, and all of the other associated things that they're trying to tell us that that right wingers are, for lack of a better term, are the ones that are going to be getting violent and destroying and murdering and raping and pillaging in the streets. And that sort of stuff, it doesn't happen in spite of the Fed provocateuring. And there's video that was caught at the January 6th thing of a guy named Roy Epps. And I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper into this. This will be something that we can talk about at another time. But there's this guy named Roy Epps, who, a guy from Arizona, on January 5th, he was in the crowd trying to rile people up to storm the Capitol. And as soon as he said, "We got to get in there, we got to wrangle these congressmen up and hold them on trial," people start going, "Fed, Fed, Fed," Fed. Just started chanting and shouting him down. And then turns out that January 6th, the very next day, he was one of the first people in the building. And he's not under arrest. He's not indicted for anything. So,
well, that's kind of obvious. You'd think they would just do some sort of fake conviction on their plants so they could reuse them.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they have been doing that. Got fiery, but mostly peaceful. Speaking of BLM getting fiery, it's kind of gross how the progressive mouthpieces are trying to whip people up that they're going to riot over this Rittenhouse verdict if it doesn't go their way.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about provocateurs? You don't need to look any further than somebody like Joy Reid on MSNBC and all of the panel of provocateurs and dipshits that she has on a nightly basis.
Yeah, it's like they think they're their own personal army, and they can just, because they say it on the news, that they're going to get. I don't think the people that were involved with BLM give a shit about the people that Rittenhouse shot.
Well, they don't even know who Rittenhouse shot. Rittenhouse shot Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum and Grosskreutz, and there's people out there that still believe the people he shot were black.
Yeah, I still see that pop up once in a while on some random Twitters that, like, I had no idea that the people Rittenhouse shot weren't even black.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I didn't know that was the narrative. I never saw that narrative that they were pressing. That must have just been some...
Yeah, it was just an organic assumption that people had. Oh, people get shot at BLM rally. Must have been a black guy.
Yeah, and that's why didn't Biden call him a white supremacist that crossed state lines or something? I don't.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to assume he's not going to be guilty. It's going to be interesting, the lawsuits that he rolls out after all this is over.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that I hope that when all is said and done, he makes Nick Sandman's case look like something that went to small claims court. Kid deserves to be a fucking billionaire taking it out of the hide of the mainstream media. I hope he sues Biden himself. Biden and Rashida Tlaib and Cori Bush and all of these other people that flat out said he's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Nail him. Every penny that the Biden family extracted from their dirty dealings in the Ukraine and China and everything, Rittenhouse's bank account. Boom, earmark it.
Hunter's gonna have to do some more crayon drawings.
Did you see how he actually does paint those paintings that he's selling for? Like, he takes a straw and instead of inserting it into his nose, he puts it in his mouth, sucks up a little bit of paint, and blows it on the canvas. That's what he does. And there's people out there paying $500,000 for these masterpieces.
Well, it's such a racket that you don't. I mean, it's one of those things that's probably always been there, and it was just brought to light with what he was doing. But you know, you always see these paintings selling for millions and millions of dollars. I mean, it's just money laundering.
Oh yeah, that's all that modern art is.
Yeah, that's all the whole thing has probably been for, just in the same way the media has always been corrupt and shitty. That's how people have been laundering money, is through art this whole time.
Yeah, it's either money laundering, or considering who he is, it's buying access to his father.
Yeah. It's just like how lobbyists work too.
Yep.
I mean, all right, well, you want to get me some money, buy some art from this corporation, and there you go. That's probably why corporations used to buy so much art. I mean, I'm sure they still are, but you would hear about, you know, hanging the art pieces in the corporate headquarters. Well, so you can sell it later to gain access.
Precisely.
What?
Like, this Hunter shit. This Hunter Biden original will look so good in the corporate lobby.
I mean, that's what they did, basically.
Said no one ever.
So yeah, old Rittenhouse. I mean, they've just been deliberating. They've came back and watched a couple videos. It was hard to tell what they were trying to get at with the videos they wanted to watch. They wanted to see the high res video. That was for sure. And there was one other one. I don't know. I can't imagine when they're going to have. I thought it would have been quicker at this point. I'm kind of surprised. I'm curious now that it's taking this long, which way they're hung. You know, do they have like one guy that doesn't want to convict, or is there one guy who wants to convict?
I honestly, I think that at this point they're all probably unanimous on acquittal, and they're just trying to drag this out to make all of the people who have come into town to riot or whatever to lose interest and go home, and then they'll drop the acquittal verdict, and hopefully it'll all blow over. The thing is that if they the problem with what's going on and how public that this case is that if they convict him as guilty, they will be sacrificing an innocent man to the appeasement of the mob. Mm-hmm. And that will then signal to the mob that they can do this anywhere and everywhere that they don't get their way. And then our justice system will be taken over by the mob, and there will be no justice anymore. And I was talking to one of my old Army buddies tonight, and I said, you know, Kyle Rittenhouse is just an unfortunate victim in this decades-long fight that we've had in this country over the right to armed self-defense. You know, Kyle Rittenhouse is on trial, but the real goal is to put the right to armed self-defense under scrutiny. And I said that with the process being the punishment in this case, we can have all of the guns and ammo and body armor and other cool tactical shit that we've got. But if these crazy neo-Bolshevik LARPers are out there and they make us too afraid to actually use these things that we've got, even in self-defense, then they've won. We've been preparing for warfare for so long while they've been practicing lawfare. And unfortunately, the lawfare is the more powerful weapon in this case.
Well, and that's something Trump stepped up on. People don't realize how many judges he appointed all over the country. Obama just ignored those when he was in office. And I think the GOP grabbed onto that right away that, we got all these empty judges. Let's get some appointments going on. But back to the back to the verdict. I think the way to get maximum butthurt to the left would be if it comes back that they find him guilty of everything, and the judge dismisses it with prejudice.
Yep.
For a mistrial. That's the maximum butthurt right there.
And that is an option that some people who are actual lawyers and prosecutors brought up, to where the jury could come back and they could totally Pontius Pilate themselves on this. Be like, we find him guilty, we wash our hands of this, and then the judge will end up having one like, oh yeah, well, mistrial with prejudice, because
he could be letting it play out, right? Both the potential mistrials were from the prosecution, so he could be letting it play out to see what happens.
In addition to the MSNBC thing,
yeah, it's like in a weird analogy, but like in soccer, if there's a foul and the other team's got the lead, you don't call the foul until it turns sides.
Yeah. So
he might just be letting it go and to see if it'll work its way out naturally, because I'm sure a judge does not want to have to declare a mistrial on this big a case if he doesn't have to, especially with prejudice. I don't know if he'd be willing to throw it out with prejudice, but I think I'd almost be 100% sure that he would declare a mistrial if he's found guilty after those two major screw ups.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see in the next couple of days. I was honestly thinking that after the first day of jury deliberations and they went into recess for the night, I thought that they would open things back up at 9:00 and then we'd have a verdict by like 9:01. That they just wanted to wait till the morning time came, because if people started rioting, it's a lot easier to deal with people during the day than it is at the night.
I don't know. I think you might be onto something, that if they all decide he is guilty, they want to let people, disperse that were showing up to.
Yeah.
But, most of those people don't have jobs anyways. They're being funded by somebody.
Yeah. Luke over here says that at the least Binger should be disbarred. Disbarred, fired, brought up on criminal misconduct charges, violation of the discovery process. There's a lot that guy should be.
That thing he did right at the beginning, where he tried to imply that Rittenhouse was guilty because he didn't start talking right away. What is that bullshit?
That was such an egregious Fifth Amendment violation that the judge was like stuttering and speechless. He's like, there's no way you're this stupid. No way.
You can't. You could tell jurors to not pay attention to something, but they heard that. What if that affected somebody's opinion?
Yeah, you can't unring that bell.
No, and that's the reason they're not supposed to say that shit in a trial.
Yep.
I've never understood that. Where I've been watched court cases before, and oh yeah, that's not allowed. So jury disregard that information. It's like, how the fuck does that work? If I was on trial for something that happened, I'd want out immediately and get a new jury.
Yeah, it reminds me of something I saw on The Simpsons, where Bart was listening to learn Spanish audio tape while they were flying, and they weren't going to Spain. They were going to, I think, England or something. And Homer's like, Bart, we're going to England, not Spain. That Spanish is useless. And so Bart grabs the phone out of the headrest, smacks himself in the head 3 times. Goes, okay, I forgot it all.
Just smack the jurors in the head.
Yeah. Just delete that information from the files. It's like, but brain doesn't work that way.
Well, and then once that trial's over, we're going to go right into the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, I guess, if she makes it.
Yep. Hashtag Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself.
Yeah, I'm surprised she's still here at this point.
Well, I think that after the Jeffrey Epstein thing, that they realized that they couldn't get away with doing it a second time right in everybody's
Yeah,
face.
but do you think they care? I mean,
I don't know.
what they had to do, I saw they already had to dismiss one of the jurors that they had selected because he admitted that he had met Epstein before. It's like you might have brought that up early in the process.
Well, I heard that the what's his name, the Schumer, the senator from New York, is promising the judge in the Ghislaine Maxwell case a federal position after the trial. So,
Oh,
golly,
so she's going to get off.
probably.
Got to get ahead of the whole suicide thing. Yeah. So that, I suppose that trial will, I don't know. You think the media will cover that one?
That's one that I think is going to be voraciously digested by internet autists, and enough of it is going to be leaked out to where the internet people can start drawing wild and crazy conclusions, but they're going to have enough of it held back that they can disprove those and make everybody else look loony. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know why she would talk at this point. I mean, if I was her, why wouldn't she just lie? I mean, they've got dirt on so many people. I mean, everybody, it seems like that is in power now ties back to Epstein. I mean, Gates does.
Oh yeah, they're buddies from way back when. There's some shit about how they had like a weird, not a cloning facility out in New Mexico, but it was like
making human monkey chimeras.
No, not the human monkey chimeras, but it was gonna be something like all of the smart people in the world, and they'd have like a breeding farm where you would get beautiful young women to be the surrogate carriers of like Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein's gene lines or some shit like that. Like just bizarre stuff.
I've got to throw something up here real quick. Let me get it down. It's you might have seen it from that Timcast, the Alex Jones meme. Did you see that one?
Which one?
The You Are Here in the Alex Jones timeline.
Oh yeah, the one that Joe Rogan brought up at the beginning.
Yeah, let me throw that up here real quick.
Yeah. Oh, he's got the White Boy Summer Pit Vipers on. Yeah.
So in case you can't see the top one, it says your TV is spying on you. That was Alex Jones. Elite cabal of sex traffickers. Yeah, we did that one. They're turning the frogs gay. All right, he was a little off. It turns out we're turning the frogs into hermaphrodites.
Yep. Close enough.
Bohemian Grove. Yeah. Silver iodide. I don't. You're on. Are you up on that one? What is that about?
I think that the silver iodide is it's either something that they've taken out of food. It's like a essential nutrient for brain development and stuff.
Hold up, we missed this comment by Luke. It's gold. Were they making cat girls with Elon?
Maybe.
I'm gonna guess, yeah, or waifu looking women. So anyway, rich people using baby blood. Yeah, I guess that's happening in Mexico. They go down there for transfusions. So this must be the 2022 game plan here. We're gonna get our human monkey chimeras, and maybe we'll finally see those interdimensional elves. I don't know. It's just bizarre that this is stuff he was saying for the last 20 years, and that's where we're at out of his wacky shit that hasn't come true.
Yeah. The thing that about Alex Jones is he's got a very bombastic and sensational, and Tim Pool, I think, kind of encapsulated very well on that podcast why people dismiss people like Alex Jones, Joe Rogan more so lately, guys like Luke Rudkowski, who was also on that stream. And it's because they are so deep into all of this. They know so much that they just assume that everybody has at least a passing familiarity with some of the wacky shit that they know.
Right.
So when they come out and say things like interdimensional potbelly goblins or whatever, most people are like, okay, that's insane. I'm turning this off right now. This guy's obviously a lunatic. Or when you say something like they're turning the frogs gay or whatever, yeah, that's lunatic shit. I'm not going to listen to this anymore. It comes off as abrasive. It comes off as crazy, but it's true. All of it is 100% true. And the thing about Alex Jones is he's not making these predictions. He's not like Nostradamus or whatever, like putting the card to his head and like monkey chimera hybrids are around the corner or whatever. Everything that he does is taken from declassified open source documents that he and his team just kind of collate together and connect all of the dots and be like, Agenda 21 has become Agenda 2030. They've got a point in the timeline where they want to be by 2030, and this whole pandemic thing just fits nicely into, what's this? Event 201, something that they did a few years ago, simulating a pandemic that was very suspiciously similar to what we're going through right now. Oh, what's this? Rockefeller Program Operation Lockstep? Gee, what's that? Oh, it's what we're living through right now. And it all just fucking comes together. And I think that probably like 50% of our GDP should go in the Alex Jones was right jar at this point.
Yeah, and he hasn't made many new. I don't know if it's just because everybody's a little bit of Alex Jones now and finding this shit out, but I mean, he hasn't been on the leading edge of this shit as much as he used to anymore.
Right. It's all coming so fast right now. It used to be that I could listen to the Alex Jones show and then hear the exact same thing being reported by Glenn Beck or Dan Bongino or Tucker Carlson or whatever 6 months to a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's compressed to sometimes within the same day.
Yeah.
That's how fast the things are coming at us right now. I'll listen to Alex Jones in the morning talking about something wacky, and then when his show is over, I'll turn on Bongino and he'll be talking about the exact same thing from a slightly different angle, and I'll be like, yep, the singularity is upon us. Here we are.
Yep. I mean, that's a great thing.
It kind of is, yeah.
I mean, I forget what it was, but there was some Alex Jones story that was like breaking news, and it's like, oh, I saw that on Reddit before, and here was brand new to Alex Jones. He probably took a couple hours to get it out to production, but it was already spreading around by then. And it was something that would have just seemed like bizarre, wacky shit if it was 10 years ago, but no, it was true.
Yep.
Oh yeah, somebody brought up the monkeypox thing. They commented over here, monkeypox case. Just saying, from monkey human hybrid.
That's how they keep them in check.
Interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure, I'd have to look, but smallpox vaccine also it's in this. All those are in the same family. So the smallpox vaccine protects against monkeypox. It'd be interesting if Bill Gates' new cash adventure that is a treatment for smallpox also works on monkeypox. I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
You see, because we have to invent a panpox vaccine because the monkey-human hybrids that live among us right now also deserve to have their at least 50% human rights protected to be protected from diseases. Like, whoa. Back up. You lost me at the monkey-human hybrids living among us part.
Well, wait, back up. What'd you say about that? That would explain a lot, honestly. But there was one other. Oh, you had commented. You said Agenda 21 is Agenda 2030 now? I missed that.
Yeah, it was when they first came out with it before the turn of the century. It was Agenda 21, which was the agenda for the 21st century.
I knew all about that one. I haven't heard much about it anymore.
Yeah, and then as they coalesced it, they changed the name to Agenda 2030, where they want all of that crazy "you will own nothing and be happy" and all that stuff they want that by 2030.
Well, it's funny because when I first got on city council, there was somebody that wanted to come make a presentation about, making the city more green and recycling and all this shit. And I'm reading through their presentation. I see Agenda 21 tagged in there, and so I call up the city administrator and I'm like, you bring that shit to council, I am going to light it up. I said, don't even have the presentation up. I will tear into it as long as I possibly can. And it never, he must have told him, don't bother.
Oh Lord. Well,
Agenda
God
2030.
God bless you, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I gotta watch for that one now to come up. Monkeypox case was, I saw that, and he flew from an overseas flight. So everybody on that flight got to enjoy their monkeypox exposure.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that's the next one spreading around, some weird fucking monkeypox.
Yep.
The Bill Gates has a cure for and is going to fast track the approval of the drug.
Yep.
Well, we're hitting up on 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock your time. We didn't have a nonsense this week, did we? I think we got a good week.
Other than Ghislaine Maxwell about to be in the news and Joseph Rosenbaum being in the ground, I don't really have any. That was
the other thing. A lot of people didn't realize that guy was such a creepy weirdo. I mean, it wasn't like he was 19 and molested a 16-year-old. He was like 20 and raped 5 boys.
Yeah. Yeah, that right there is as clear cut as it gets. Like, oh, my 16-year-old girlfriend, 3 years younger than me. Oh, you're technically a sex offender. It's like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But no, I'm a 21-year-old man anally raping a 9-year-old boy. Yeah. The world is a better place without you, buddy.
Yeah. Why would anybody want to riot for that dude getting killed?
They don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know. But what's even worse is the people who do know that are still like, well, he didn't deserve to be shot in the street. And it's like, I kind of did.
I mean, did he though?
Even without the coming at a guy saying I'm going to kill you part.
I mean, I'd like to hear the opinion of those boys' fathers that got raped if they thought maybe he should be shot in the street.
Yeah. If I was one of those young boys' fathers, I think I'd be mad at Kyle Rittenhouse for not being able to be the one that did it.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be, what was that case from the 80s where the guy was like pretend talking on the payphone?
Oh, yeah. Damn it, Jim!
turned around and just murked his son's molester right there in the airport. It's like, oh.
Yeah, the cops knew it was him. Damn it, Jim. That was I think he didn't get much of a charge out of that either.
No, spent like a month or 2 in jail while they set up the trial and the jury acquitted him.
Yeah. Well, temporary insanity, probably.
Or just not guilty.
or just doing a public service.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that'll about cover it for the night. I don't have anything for tomorrow, so sorry, you gun nuts.
Yeah. Check out the site. Got the merch up still. We're gonna do something in December. I wanna do a push for viewership on YouTube. I think we can get to 400 subscribers pretty easy. So we'll do another shirt thing off YouTube. Oh, of course, now we get somebody from Facebook showing up. That's too bad. Not guilty, jury nullification is what that.
Yep.
If that's really what happened, that's outstanding. Roads and number2liberty.com. Check out our shirts. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Everything's with that Roads, the number 2 Liberty.